Good morning, gang. Happy Tuesday morning. Okay, moving on along. I know so many people have asked me, it's like, oh, what are you going to talk about when Trump wins? You're such a Trump supporter. And I told you guys, when he does things I disagree with, I'm going to call him out on it. And he's already done one, okay? Maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't, but hear me out. The most important issues that the voters said in the 2024 election were the economy, number one, and the border, number two. Okay, no question. Those are the priority things for Trump to fix, and we need to know how to react to them, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to kind of talk about both of them. So let's start with the border, okay? We talked yesterday about him appointing Tom Homan as his border czar. Great pick, good idea. But Trump pulled the second one yesterday and announced who he's going to nominate as the Secretary of Homeland Security, and it's Kristi Noem. Now, I've got no problem with Kristi Noem whatsoever. Okay? I mean, she was on his short list to be VP. My only question is, why would you have somebody that you pick for the Department of Homeland Security? And mind you, this is the person who's over Border Patrol, over ICE, over FEMA, yada, 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 right? Why would you put somebody over Border Patrol, Customs Enforcement, etc., who has no law enforcement background? I mean, you can say politician or whatever, okay? Also, somebody from a northern state when our biggest border problem is down south, okay? Not going to say who I would have picked otherwise, okay? But you'd think it would be somebody from, I don't know, Texas. That would be, in my opinion, a better idea. Somebody who knows the territory, who knows the area, who actually lives down on the border, who, when you say, have you been down to the border lately? They go, I live here, okay? That, just a thought. The advantage to this pick is we know Kristi Noem is a hardline Trump supporter. No problem. We don't have any question whatsoever about her following the administration's outlook, plan, whatever, because she's completely on board. I'm not saying she's a bad pick, just a little head scratcher for it, okay? Another one yesterday was Marco Rubio as Secretary of State. I said about a week ago or so, I thought that would be a decent idea. Marco Rubio is a foreign policy hardliner, okay? So, good. That is a decent pick. We don't give up much because Florida has gone solid red, so leaving Ron DeSantis to appoint a successor to the Senate for Marco Rubio, not a big risk. And then as long as he picks somebody with some quality, I don't know, Donald Trump Jr. would be a real good pick to me. There's a good possibility of holding that seat. I wonder if that might have had a little bit to do with it, if it's Don Jr., whether it's Eric, whether it's Ivanka, who knows, okay? I wonder if that might have something to play and get them moved into politics somehow. Just saying, that's thought. The real head scratcher is tapping Elise Stefanik as the ambassador to the United Nations. Now, I'm not saying she's not deserving. I'm not saying that she's not qualified by any means, okay? But I think it's a very, very poor strategic pick. I mean, we had to wait till yesterday, 6 days after the election, for enough races to be called where the GOP finally won the House. Okay. There's still some races to be called. It looks like the GOP may win the House by 3, maybe 4 votes. Okay. Get 222 or something like that. 220. It's going to be really close. I'm not a huge proponent here of pulling a Republican congresswoman out of her position as a representative in a Democrat state. What are the chances of Kathy Hochul replacing Elise Stefanik with a Republican? 0. Okay. So by making this pick, Elise Stefanik has now cost us a House seat. Poor strategy pick. I don't know. Maybe it's a reward for being one of Trump's very first supporters. Probably. She is definitely solid MAGA, no problem. But where does her career go after that? She's not the type of person that's going to run for president and win. Maybe she comes back and runs for Senate. Okay. Would have no problem getting rid of Kirsten Gillibrand or getting rid of Chuck Schumer, but that's a tall order. So that one I question. I have a feeling that one could turn out to blow up in our face. It's going to be interesting to see how much further Trump goes pilfering his own Congress. There's a lot of good people out there that don't currently hold office that may have lost a Senate race or congressional race, governor's race, anything that we could pick. I mean, again, with Kristi Noem, now we need a new governor in South Dakota, right? Okay. Not a real stretch to say they'll probably elect a Republican, but who? So you kind of look at the appointments and you look at the border and you go, okay, maybe. I'll give Trump a C+ on picking Kristi Noem. I'll give him an A+ on picking Tom Homan. Okay. But first order of business for Kristi Noem. Explain to the people what's going on in Michigan with that whole FEMA deal that everybody's been talking about for 2 days. All right. We'd like to know. But of course, she's not going to take office for another 70 days. So at least, she's got to get confirmed. But that kind of covers that. So then we look at the economy. And the other big issue that the people have. And what can we expect? Now, we don't know much in the way of personnel yet. We don't know if Trump is going to somehow be able to get Jerome Powell out of the Fed. Janet Yellen is certainly gone. There's no question there. We haven't heard anything about who a new Treasury Secretary is going to be or anything. We haven't heard that. But now we can kind of figure out just by the policies that are going to be implemented what's going to happen. We should see interest rates drop, okay? Now, depending on which side of the fence you are, that's a good thing or a bad thing. If you're a borrower, if you're trying to buy a house, buy a car, whatever, take out a mortgage, have a lot of credit card debt, if you're a borrower, that's a good thing. If you're a saver, if you're nearing retirement, if you're in retirement, you're living on fixed income, your retirement savings is in bonds or CDs, interest rates dropping aren't good, okay? Because that means you're going to have less income generated. We spent, the better part of a decade where CDs were at 1/10 of 1%. What was the point of putting your money? I'll tie up my money for a year so I can make nothing. That was about it, right? So what do we do with our money? You guys have probably seen gold and silver taken on the chin in the last few days, okay? Why? There's a little bit of the market going, the dollar is going to get a lot stronger, which means a weaker gold, okay? Am I still buying gold and silver? Yes. Okay. Am I picking my places? Yes. Do I think it has further to fall? Yes. Okay. So hedging my bet, kind of waiting right now. But where would I want to put my money? If the fixed income market is going to drop. Okay, if you are okay, what is it? Savings account rates right now are somewhere around 4%. You might be able to find some high fours CDs or whatever. This is when I start looking at longer term bonds, CDs. We start going out to the 4-year, 5-year CDs. Okay, because lock in those interest rates now. As interest rates drop, you'll be doing better. I know a year ago we were talking about wouldn't want to go more than 9 months. Now everything's shifted. Now I'd probably be looking at going longer. At least that's what I'm looking at. Okay, for that part of my savings, start earning some money there. Because we've already seen savings account interest rates drop from 4.25% to 4% in the last, at least for me, in the last 4 months or whatever it was, 3 months. So yeah, seeing a drop. Put something away somewhere else. Try to lock in that rate. What if you've still got your IRA, your 401k, maybe or maybe not? You have the opportunities here. We're going to get into a Warren Buffett type of investment, I think, okay, where that's where the money's going to be made. It's not going to be all the high-flying tech companies. The tech companies are going to start coming under a lot of scrutiny. They'll still do fine, don't worry, but I wouldn't want that much exposure. You're looking for dividend plays, okay, something that might get you some growth but also gives you some income. Well, let's take a look at some places that you might want to consider. Oil, natural gas, drilling companies, that might be a good place to take a look, okay? Refineries, drill baby drill, right? Okay, that should increase profits for the oil companies, which of course would increase stock prices. And if you can find something that's got a decent dividend, all right, now you get a little growth and a little bit of income. There's one idea for you. Okay. Automobile manufacturing. I know, maybe this isn't. Why would I want to put money in GM or Ford or something like that? Take a look at Ford. I'm not giving you investment advice. I'm just giving you ideas. Ford's got a pretty high dividend. Ford's got a relatively low price, okay, per share. You start looking at companies like this and go, if the manufacturing comes back to the United States, if the tariffs start going on the foreign products, how much more expensive does a Toyota, a Hyundai, a Mercedes, a Volkswagen get? And all of a sudden the U.S. products are more affordable. And people start buying U.S.-made vehicles. Okay? You can see the growth in the stock and you're getting a nice dividend. Something to look at there. Banks. Another nice boring company, and I know how much we all love banks, right? If the interest rates are low, banks don't make that much money, right? You'd think. It doesn't work that way, all right? Because the bank's charging you 8% for a mortgage as opposed to 3% for a mortgage, don't think the bank is making that extra 5%. That's not how it works. I mean, a bank is borrowing and lending at the same time, and they're playing that spread in the middle, okay? And they'll both adjust. But if we have a more stable economy where the banks don't have to take on the risk and people start making a little bit more money and we get back into our savings mode that we were in, rather than the load up the credit card debt, the risk goes down, the reward goes up for banks. Oh, and you can pull off some dividends as well too. Okay. You could talk about trucking. You could talk about airlines. Profits should go up because gas prices are going to come down. I mean, again, ask any trucker how much it costs to fill their tank. Take a look at the price of jet fuel to fly an airplane. When those prices come down, the price of airplane tickets comes down, the price of food comes down, and all of a sudden the profitability for the trucker, the airliner, et cetera, goes up. It's going to be really interesting to see how this all pans out. What Trump keeps, what he gets rid of. I mean, he said yesterday he's going to get rid of the Department of Education. A lot of people want him to get rid of the Fed. Wouldn't that be nice? Okay. Let the economy work on its own. Stop trying to manipulate it. But the personnel that Trump is putting in place are interesting, good so far. B plus in my grade early on, I'd say. Above average, some excellent, okay, some head scratchers, but ultimately it all comes down to how does all the stuff in this big picture affect us down here? And that's kind of what we got to look at. And I thought I'd just give you a couple ideas on my thoughts. Have a good morning. Pinball out.